Hi there, it's Martin Rapley here from Refurbishment Masterclass. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the CDM regulations which surround the health and safety liability that you hold as a property owner and, in theory, a property developer whilst you're carrying out the works in this property. Now, the CDM regulations have actually been around for well over 20 years. They stand for Construction Design Management, and they were brought in to ensure that everyone involved with any construction project, and that does, by the way, include refurbishment and even minor alterations and repairs to property, but they were brought in to ensure that anyone involved in any kind of project like that was considering how the whole thing was done in a safe way, how it was constructed, that's the C, how it's constructed safely. D is how it is designed safely, so that it is designed in a way that it can be built safely and it can be used safely. And M is the management of safety, how safety is managed through the whole process, and how it's also managed after the property has been finished, after the works have been finished. But can you live in this property in a safe way? And so the CDM regulations have been around for a long time. For a long time, though, it was a bit of a grey area as to whether property investors fell under the CDM regulations or whether they were considered domestic domestic clients, effectively, like refurbishing your own house or putting an extension on your own house. In 2015, those regulations were updated, as regulations always are, and what became clear from the rewording was that property investors, i.e. anyone who is carrying out a refurbishment to make profit, is considered to fall under the CDM regulations, which means that you as property investors are ultimately responsible to ensure that the whole journey of this construction project is carried out in a safe way. And on smaller projects, you may well be able to get that covered off by your architect and employing a competent builder. But as the projects get larger and the risks get greater and there's more personalities involved, then at that point you may well need to employ a health and safety consultant or a CDM consultant that will come in and look after your responsibilities for that whole project. Now, I'm not a CDM consultant, and so this isn't me touting for work at all. I've got a lot of experience with CDM. I've worked for building contractors where we needed to comply with the CDM legislation, but I'm not skilled enough to be able to provide that one-to-one support that you will need in this case. You'll need to look, as I say, for a CDM consultant or a health and safety consultant. Now, if we assume that you're doing a relatively small project, and the risks are relatively minimal and you're employing a competent builder, then in reality you can delegate the responsibility for that safe construction period over to the builder. And by the way, you would need to be happy that the builder can manage the health and safety. So if you go to the project and it doesn't feel safe, the likelihood is it isn't safe. So don't be afraid to flag that up with the builder and make sure that he addresses whatever it is that you're not happy with. It could be that there's a staircase with no balustrade up it and you run the risk of falling over the side. It could be that the floor's been taken up and you run the risk of falling through there. It could be that they're working on the outside of the building and the scaffolding's not been erected properly and it's wobbling around as you stand on it. They're all the kinds of things that you ought to be flagging up with your builder. I want to just finish this video by giving you a real warning though, and that is that to be very careful of photos that you post of your projects on social media. I see an awful lot of property investors who post photos of their projects on social media where there are some clear breaches of health and safety legislation. Tradesmen walking around without any protective equipment, hard hats, boots, high vis, when clearly there is a need for it because there is some major works going on. I see really tatty and untidy sites with debris all over the place, which could be trip hazards. I see poor quality scaffolds. I see holes in scaffolds. I see holes in floors with men working up and standing on joists and things like that. If you post those kinds of things on social media, none of us know where those social media posts ends up. Some of them could end up with the HSE, Health and Safety Executive, and ultimately they could be paying you a visit. So please don't overlook the importance of the CDM regulations, and the significant thing here is really, make sure you take some advice. It's important that you outsource the management of this as soon as you're doing anything more than a regular routine type project, because you are potentially leaving yourself open for prosecution if there happens to be a health and safety breach, an incident which is clearly an accident, but worst case could be a death on your site. That will come back to you as the owner. So a really important thing to talk about. Do please get in touch with me if you want to know anything more about CDM. As I say, I can give you some steers, but in reality, my advice is you do really need to be working with a health and safety consultant that can just give you an overview of everything that you're doing, and importantly, look after your responsibilities whilst you're carrying out these refurbishment projects. So my name is Martin Rapley. If you liked that video, then please do give me a thumbs up and share it around. And if there's any comments, then leave them below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I look forward to catching up with you on the next video.